Hi there everybody, my name is Sipho Ngwenya and welcome to another episode of MultiTalks, a platform where we give you, the viewer, some insights into some of the great initiatives being spearheaded by the MultiChoice Group. Now, we've had some great guests on the show before, ranging from content creatives to product owners. Today, however, I am joined by Lebohang Maboe, who is a professional footballer currently playing for SuperSport United on loan from Mamelodi Sundowns, and he'll be telling us about his football experiences and how he got to be a part of the DStv Diski challenge. Take a look. Hello, Hamaji. Welcome to MultiTalks. We're looking forward to having this discussion with you. Today we're going to be chatting all things DStv Diski Challenge, and then of course your professional career as a footballer. Before we get into that, just tell our viewers out there, where you come from, what you're about, and how you landed in football.
Well, Lebohang Maboe is from Ratanda, Heidelberg. That's where I grew up. That's where I spent most of my time growing up. So with football, I just always knew that I was destined, to be in the game, because I grew up in a family-loving football family. From my dad to my uncles, everyone at home played football. So there's nothing else that I knew besides being on the pitch and playing football.
And now, when you wake up every single day, I'm sure there are, things that you look forward to. What is it that makes you tick as a person?
Sure. I think my goals and the targets that I set for myself, I still believe I've got a lot more to offer. Yes, I've had career threatening injuries, but I only use that as seeing it as something positive, something to work towards, so just setting myself those goals and making sure that I just want to keep on improving each and every day I go to training.
Now you know obviously that South Africa is a big football loving nation, right? We also got things like rugby and cricket.
Yeah.
And I know when you mentioned that you come from a soccer, family, your dad, football, etc. But if it wasn't football, what was it going to?
I've never had, I don't want to lie to you. I promise you, I don't want to lie to you.
Yeah.
I never thought of anything else besides football. Okay, I played rugby for the first 2 years of my time in high school. But I just knew that, this is not for me. I knew that football is what I'm destined for. Yeah.
And I'll bring an example of myself. I also coming from a football loving family. But that's a story for another day. I can't help but to ask you this, right? You obviously being on loan from Mamelodi Sundowns, SuperSport United, but your dad was a Mamelodi and a Pirates player.
Yeah.
Wasn't it quite like one of those things you're gonna play for one of these two teams?
I had to write my own script.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it. Okay, yes, my dad played for Pirates, he made his own name, and I have to make my own name as well, I have to, create my own hype around my name, and not just, go the route that my dad took. So I just had to write my own script, and maybe let me not even contradict myself.
Yeah.
Let me just say, I just had to write my own script.
Correct. Yeah. And look, from what I've already, read about you and seen about you, it really does look like that.
Right.
But now, just off the field, what do you do to get, time going? I know some soccer players love playing PlayStation. What is the thing that you do to just cover it?
What? I'm a shopaholic. I'm a shopaholic. Yeah. I'm big in fashion. I'm big in, I just love spoiling myself.
Yeah.
And if I don't have any session, you'd probably find me at the mall somewhere.
But could one say that, football and fashion go hand in hand? Because if I look at people like Abodiko Motisi and I can see how his fashion style
is like so deliberate. Yeah.
And many footballers, even internationally, it's like a thing. Is it a thing for some?
I think it does. I think it is. Because I think if you feel good and look good, you obviously gonna do good. It's just a mental thing that, if I feel good, I'm obviously gonna do good. So I have to make sure that I look good all the time. Like I wear what I wanna wear, and I express myself in a fashion sense, and try and take that to the pitch as well.
All right. Well, you know what they say? They say that charity begins at home, right? And, with your story in terms of grassroots football and getting into the DStv Diski challenge, tell us about that journey, how you got into that.
I started off Ikasi, playing local football. I remember my late grand used to say to me, there was this one time where my uncle was going to training, so every time he'd go to training, I'd like peep out the window and like check to see, where's this guy going? Until this one day where he left like an extra pair of his training gear on the bed, and I think by that time I was like 5 years old. My grand didn't know where I was, but I was in the bedroom wearing the gear. And as soon as he went out, there I was following him. Yes, and this linger, So yeah, that's where it all started. And then I was lucky enough to join the Kaizer Chiefs Youth Development in I think it was in 2010 or 11. Played there for a couple of years. I moved on. I left Kaizer Chiefs. Went back to Ikasi. It all started. I played there for a season. So there was a local team in Idlalen. Played there for a season. Won the league. By that time, it's a SAB league, yeah. Won the league. Went to the playoffs with Vodacom by that time, which is the ABC Motsepe League now. We didn't make we didn't make it through to the Vodacom League, but I was scouted by a different team that was already in the league that we were supposed to go play in. Went to that team, Amazozo, by the way, the team, yeah. Played there for a season. Won the league as well. Went to the promotional playoffs. We didn't make it. I was lucky enough to, get another team that was in the NFD by then.
Wow.
Went there for a season. Yeah, played a season. We didn't win the league, but we, in NFD, so like the top three teams, the first team gets an automatic promotion, and then the second and third go to the promotion. Yeah. I think we were number 3, yeah. When they played, didn't make it. I was lucky enough again to, I think Coach Ernst was watching our game, one of our games. After that game, got a call, like, hey, Doris is interested in you. Really this? I said, yeah, they really want you to come down, blah, 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 blah. I was like, what, let me just focus on the playoffs and I'll see everything else once I'm done with playing. Okay, got done playing. I think I spent I was less than a week even at home. I had to drive down to PNC, to Maritzburg, yeah. Got there, trained with, it was the reserve team. Trained with them for 3 days. I was supposed to stay for a week, but I trained 3 days. After the third day, Coach Ernst was like, no, you know what? I don't want to waste your time. Just go get your things and come back.
So immediately,
yeah, he was like, you know what, I'm done. I've seen enough, so go fetch your things and come back. Okay, went back home, excited, as soon as I got off the pitch, called my mom, called my dad. I was like, hey, I think I made it. I think now my dream is coming true. And then congratulations, can't wait for you to come back. Got back home. It was got back on a Thursday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I had to leave on Sunday. Went back to my work. And from then onwards, everything else was history. Because when I got there, started training with the first team, but by then, Coach Ernst thought, I needed a bit of, experience-wise, with playing in the MultiTalks Diski Challenger. Yeah, I played the first round. Yeah, I played the first round of was it the first couple of games, like first 5-6 games I played there. And then I can't remember who was injured in the team. So we're playing Free State Stars with Maritzburg. Straight from the MDC, went into the first team. I made my first appearance with playing Free State Stars in Goble Park. Goble Park, yeah. That's when I first made my Premier League debut, and all thanks to, MultiChoice and, with the MultiChoice Diski Challenge, because I don't think if they weren't there, like, Coach Enzo was going to give me any chance, to come to the first team.
Well, look, man, your story is very remarkable, right?
Yeah.
Just listening to what you're saying, most of it sounds like yours has been a story of patience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's also been some lack in there, and that things happen for you at the right time. What are the values that that you aspire to as a footballer that keep you so like level-headed? You're gonna say
The first thing I go to is prayer, and so I read a lot of like, I read the Bible a lot, I read the script a lot, and I also think, having a parent that played the sport, he helps me, tells me that, no, boy, like, maybe this is not for you, do this, do that, these are some of the things that you need to sacrifice, friends, I had to spend some crazy hours as well, working on my own, I had to cut some friends along the line.
Yeah, that's always painful.
Yeah, which is not nice. And then once you do that, people start thinking lawyers, jailer, but they don't see like what you are seeing. They see it as law just cause utuli contract in lawyers, jailer. But I'm too on, but I've had a very supportive family, honestly. It's had a very, very supportive family.
And now let's get more into the Diski Challenge itself, right? In your view, what would you say? Because look, we've got many other like development structures for rugby. There's the cricket. There's the Easter Festival. There's the Varsity Cup. The Diski Challenge itself, what would you say makes it so different from all these other development programs that we have as well?
I think it's the exposure it gives you in, getting the feel of being a professional player. It's not just in any league where like a player would travel from Joburg to Cape Town and, have that experience, see how it feels, having proper meals the day of the game and, the day before the game, So I think, and also the fact that, most of the games are like live, and like having your family to like watch you, and after the game, that you can also do your own notes. You can ask your parents to, record the game for you, come back from the game, just watch yourself, see what you've done wrong, and, try and also help yourself to improve yourself.
And now when you speak about when you finally transitioned into the professional environment now, for you in terms of that exposure that you already had from the Diski Challenge itself, did it really help you in terms of like, how to conduct yourself on the pitch, how to, keep to a professional routine, how to, ensure like the training, this is another routine that you have to take on. Just tell us more about that transition for you.
I think it did help me, to be honest. It did help me because, I got to understand what it takes to be a professional footballer. I got to create my own routine around, okay, this is what we do at this time when we're in camp. So even when we play on some of our home games and we don't go to camp, I try and like follow the routine that I normally have in camp. I don't want to do anything that's going to distract me from what I'm already used to.
Yeah. And now, as last year we celebrated the 10th anniversary of the DStv Diski challenge, there were some great stories. You know, some of the people came on the show and spoke about, you know, people like Percy Dowles were playing internationally, Cole Fosters, etc., etc. For you, do you have any memories or highlights, you know, of those 10 years that stand out for you?
It would have to be when I was also still playing the Diski challenge.
When did you graduate, just by the way?
Oh, it's been a while. 2016, 2015, 2016. Yeah, so it's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
But tell us about those highlights.
I think it was the year. I think it was a festival in Bloemfontein. Yeah, we were playing Sundowns in that in that week. So I don't think we were doing well at the time with Maritzburg, you know, but we had such a talented group of players. Now, I remember we were in the changing room sitting there and we were like, have a fit. I love when I'm saying I was going to say, I promise you, you know, I had the likes of, I had Fortune, whom I'm still very close to, who was a brother actually to me. I had Spacey Shindlo, who, the list goes on. You know, I had like a lot of players that also graduated, you know, and I remember we were sitting there like, I have a fit level when I'm saying, I have a was going to see. And we won that game, I think 2-1. I think we played that game was probably one of the best games that we've played as a group together. So I think that's why the game like stands out a lot amongst all the others that we've played together, because we're going through a very rough patch, but we're like, you know what, James, not today. I know I'm you with it. I know I'm signed.
And let's just talk more about the football landscape in SA, right? We've seen it go through many ups and downs. I remember one of my first experiences actually watching the African Cup of Nations at the then F&B football stadium. I think we were playing against the team, but we were at the stadium, 1996, an electric environment. I mean, the stadium was packed. Through all these ups and downs we've seen, what would you say are the key critical moments for our football in SA? But then at the same time, how can we make our football, you know, go back to those glory days?
I think we must go with time. You know, I think we get left behind like too much. You know, the gap between us and some of the teams in Europe is like, is quite big. You know, I'm not saying we must forget who we are. We must obviously know who we are. But I think it starts at grassroots level. You know, I think it starts at, you know, like educating the coaches, you know, making sure that the coaches that like from youth structure, you know, making sure that those coaches understand what they have to do to get the players into, you know, into the level that they're supposed to be in. You know, I think if we can fix that and just invest a lot more in the youth, you know, I don't think we're doing enough.
But I can challenge you with that, right? And say, if we, for instance, look at the Diski challenge itself, it's invested since it started about over 350 million rands into sports development.
Yeah.
And this is on the field itself in terms of organizing the tournament.
Okay.
This goes into the broadcasting, you know, all the suppliers and grooming that talent. And then also talent on the screen. You talk about what into it to with that.
Yeah.
You would think with that kind of investment that something has to be going right.
But what about the ones like us? What about the raw talent that we don't get to see or don't have, you know, enough funds for them to, you know, get a trial, Sundowns, Chiefs, you know? That's what I'm talking about. You know, I don't think we investing enough in like where football actually is, where it all starts. I don't think we are. I think, okay, yes, we're trying with the annual tournaments and whatnot, but is that enough? I don't think it is, because that's like a once in a year type of thing. Like, what are they doing from January to November if the tournament is only playing in December? You get where I'm going. Okay. So I think if we can maybe also look at trying to, you know, go like emakas, emanukshini, where, you know, some of them, like we all come from different environment, you know, and some might not afford to have the funds to go to a trial, and he's super talented, but it's just he doesn't have the funds, or he doesn't get the exposure that he needs, you know, for people to see him and then recognize the talent that he has, for them to invite the player into their team and say, okay, you know what, we've seen what you can do. Maybe come for a trial for a week. You know, I think maybe if we can do that, and also I think the biggest one is the coaches in Malukshin and Akoni. You know, we also need to educate them on how to handle these young ones, because we lose a lot. I promise you, we lose a lot of talent in Malukshin.
But now, yeah, that there's a huge gap in there for me, right? I mean, we're not taking away the great job that's already been done, AI development structures, etc. But don't you also feel like there's an onus on the players themselves? Like, look, when you go to work, if you had your manager, whoever's leading, they had your inspiration, you know what I mean, and making sure that you as a person are developing, right? I would think then there's the part where Sipho comes in when he goes home, where I now need to be a very self-disciplined person.
Yeah.
For instance, if they're saying to me, you know, as a footballer, please don't drink, or minimize your drinking, or as a footballer, please make sure that you sleep by 10 o'clock at night, which you can have enough rest. Now you don't have a coach who's monitoring you at home when you go home, and now it's up to you to also kind of like, you know, be disciplined enough to listen to that message being given. Don't you feel like some players actually don't have the discipline themselves to start with?
Yeah, I think that's debatable. I think some players don't, but I think there are those that, you know, that do have the discipline. But as I said, maybe if he had a coach who understands that a player needs probably 8 to 9 hours of sleep before the game, and a coach who's actually gonna, you know, drill that in the player's mind that, you know what, you have to be in bed by this time. You know, he doesn't have to be there. But if Ukali assess him, you know, by the time he gets 15, 16, he already knows what's right and what's wrong, what he needs to do and what he, you know, and what he can't do, you know. So I feel like that's what I was also saying, that, okay, we get those annual tournaments that only play once a year, but what are they doing throughout the year?
Yeah.
That's where we lose them, right? Again.
And let's just talk more about coaching, right? And I don't know, but there's a culture, especially in SA now, of coaches not being given enough time, you know, to settle in with the team. You know, there's a high churn rate in terms of coaches getting fired, etc. What do you think is the problem there?
I think we are slowly moving into a country that is result-driven. You know, it's just all about results. Doesn't matter how your team plays. It doesn't matter. It's like the culture of the team, though. I mean, to a certain extent, it does.
Yeah,
it does. Because I mean, if I don't want to, I mean,
no, please don't get into trouble.
Yeah, yeah. I think if
look, I'll make an example, right?
Yeah.
Even in corporate, we it's not great when you keep having change of leadership way too often.
Yeah.
Because in politics, government, the same thing, right? Because it needs continuity. There's like some Sipho comes with his vision. As we're starting to get used to Sipho's vision, Sipho's gone. Now they bring Temba. Temba comes in, starts his vision. So it's almost as if the players are always going
back and forth. Yeah.
Okay, but I understand it's quite a controversial one.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer that one. But can you answer this one for me? Why is there such a big gap between the great team, well, I'd say the big four in South Africa versus the rest of the teams? Because for me, it's always, if it's not SuperSport, it's Sundowns. If it's not Sundowns, it's Chiefs, it's Pirates. And what about the rest?
You know, I think it's just the hard work that the big four puts in, and the investment that, like the amount of, I don't want to just say money, but like they invest a lot into the teams, you know. Same with the players, you know. With Sundowns, you get to spend a lot of time with your team than you actually do with your family. Like in a week, you could be traveling for, we'd say, 4 or 5 days, and you get to only spend 2-3 days at home. So I think the amount of investment that they put into the team is incredible. Video analysis, nutrition, recovery protocols, it's just incredible. And I don't think other teams are investing as much as the big four teams are.
So what do you think can be done then to assist these other teams more?
I think we should share knowledge. We should, I think other teams must just go to the big four and ask them that, hey, like, how are you guys doing this? We also want to get to the level that you guys are in. Like, can you help us? Help us with recovery. What do your players take after training? When do the players have to go for recovery? What do they use? What do they eat after games? After games, like, the player has to replace, I think we call it the golden hour. So like after practice, you have to eat immediately within an hour to replace the energy that you've lost. It's such things, that the big teams are so invested in, that some of the other teams, like, we are trainer, you're not replacing, or you don't even get to rest. We are hamba, we are PvP, you're not resting, you've got training the next day. We have boy training in Ukatena, you don't have breakfast. In the big teams, I'm definitely sure that you'll get breakfast, you'll have lunch after training. At least they know that you had 2 important meals. And then the last one, obviously, you're at the family by that time. That's if you're not at camp. So they invest a lot in nutrition, in recovery, in analysis as well. The amount of analysis that we do at Sundowns is crazy.
No, we understand that on loan, right, through SuperSport United.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the two? I mean, they're both Pretoria teams, right? And I know there's quite some rivalry there. What is it like for you to be playing for, or being on loan rather, to a rival?
At this point in time, I don't care about what other people are saying. I don't listen to the noise. What's important to me right now is being on the field, expressing my talent, and giving my best for the team that I'm playing for at the moment.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a controversial one then while we're here. Obviously, like with lone players, right?
Yeah.
As you're a forward, right, or taking midfielder. There's this thing that when you score against your home club, you cannot celebrate.
Yeah.
Is it a thing in SA, or what would you do?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also just out of respect, for your parent team.
What?
It's the same as if I were to play, let's say, MultiTalks United, and I score against them. Out of respect, I choose not to celebrate because
How do you hold yourself back in that moment? You can imagine,
I get it. It's difficult, but you just also have to remember that, hey, these guys gave you a great platform, and you are here now because of the platform that these guys gave you. Yes, you also had to put in your own hard work and, also had to put in a shift, but, they gave you a platform. And all I'm just going to be saying is that,
And now just one last question around, professional football's life. The transition now going into national, football is different. So now you're playing with the cream of the crop of the country.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the future like for Bafana?
I think we've got a very bright future. I think if you watch at our under 17s, under 20, under 23 teams, big talent. I think we are headed in the right direction.
And I couldn't help you notice, right, during the qualifications now that we're going through, and the way that we are, the football style that we're playing now, it's almost as if it's gone back to what we are strong at. I mean, from a coaching side of things, is that a deliberate thing? Because I know for the longest time we've been trying to play we're playing in England with the wrong balls. You know what I mean? Now it's like you can see guys are doing nice small touches, boom, 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 getting to the box and then score, right?
Yeah. I think it is deliberate. And that stems from the big teams that you were talking about. I think a lot of people saw how the big teams are playing and they wanted to adapt that. And I think they're doing quite well, especially for our youth teams. And they're also doing quite well. The fact that both under 17s and under 20 have qualified for the World Cup, I think, that says a lot. It says a lot about where our youth football is at the moment.
I mean, that's great continuity, and I hope that we're going to be keeping it up so that it gets us some trophies.
Yeah, definitely.
In the future. All right, so now just in terms of off the pitch lifestyle for you, are there any like mentorship programs or any other programs that you're involved in?
There's an annual tournament that I'm involved in that happens in Okshin, where I grew up. That's headed by my dad. It's called the Sipho Ngwenya annual games. Yeah. So
what's the format of that tournament?
It's under 13, 15, 17, 19, and then the Masters as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it happens
annually. That's what I would say. How I wish it could be something that doesn't just happen annually, and we try and find a way to keep the kids going throughout the entire year, and they don't just have to wait for in December.
Sure.
And then I must do December.
And the kids games also. That's
you get it.
Yeah.
How I wish it could be something that happens, continuously. Like, it doesn't have to be every weekend, but maybe like twice a week, twice a month.
I don't know.
It's 3 times a month,
Look, I mean, there are other sporting codes that do this stuff, do exactly what you say.
Yeah.
This is the NBA when they have off-season.
Yeah, they have an off-season.
But when they do have like an off-season period, there's other tournaments that they have, like 3-on-3s. You know what I mean? Just to keep,
keep going. Yeah.
And also just from a development side of things. Now we know, obviously, that, our footballers' careers do come to an end at some point. At qualities on the pitch. Off the pitch, we do sometimes see a transition of players either becoming coaches or going in commentary or whatever. What does that plan look like for you? Where do you see yourself after when you hang up your football boots?
I believe I've got a lot to give in football. I believe I've still got, like, even after my playing days, I think I'd still want to be involved in football. But what am I going to be involved in? To be quite honest, at the moment, I wouldn't know. Yeah. Still have to study parts in the world.
And the simultaneous. And was the attacking midfielder / forward position a position that you always wanted to play? But I think, have you tried other positions before?
I think the only position I haven't played is centre back and being a goalkeeper.
Yeah, well,
some of the others, I've played. But the one position that I've always enjoyed playing is number 8. Always enjoyed playing as a box-to-box player. Okay. Yeah, that's always been my.
It's a very tough position that.
And it's tough, but yeah.
Who would you say then is your favorite outside of yourself? Yeah, number 8 player.
Currently,
yes.
For Pedri.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pedri.
Okay, good call. I would have gone with the Man City. But all right, so you just about to start the game, right? And I know many people have got these weird things that they do, like rituals and things that they believe in. What is your ritual? Pre-game ritual?
When I leave my room.
Is that it?
No, when I leave a campaign, when in camp, before I leave my hotel room, I have to pray. I read the script. Now on the bus, I open my Bible, I read the script. Before the game, open my Bible, put my Bible where I'm seated, read that script that I was reading in the bus, pray, and then what's that?
Let's see, do that 3 times.
Yeah, consecrate. Yeah.
And this is something that you always...
This, not always, but this is something that, like right now, currently, in this season of my life, that's what I'm religiously doing.
And now tell me, it's always weird as a spectator seeing this on TV.
Yeah.
And I wonder how it affects players. Even now, most recently at the Chiefs and Pirates derby, we saw someone taking something out of his pocket and sprinkling it on the football pops. Is that a real thing? And do you believe in it?
I don't.
But why do people do this?
I don't know. I just think it plays around with your mind,
Yeah.
Personally, once I've prayed, everything and anything else that's going to happen after that, I've left it in God's hands.
Yeah.
Like you could come to me with what and throw it and do it. Like I'm equal up. I know I've prayed. I know who my Savior is. So yeah,
That's powerful. All right, now I'm going to do something with you that I've never done on the show before, right? It's kind of like a quick fire, all right?
all right.
I'm going to give you, there's 3 questions, 2 options for each. So you have to choose one, right? So I could say something like football or rugby. Okay, and you just have to choose one.
All right.
There's training options. Okay, so I'll try not to make it. It's literally just 3 of them.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Let's go.
And don't think too hard about it.
Okay.
Give me the answer.
All right.
All right. England or Spain?
Spain.
Speed or skill?
Skill.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi. That's an obvious one.
Okay, why? Okay, because you went. But they both, okay, so these two both played in Spain.
Yeah.
Right? But there'll always be that debate between Messi and Ronaldo because...
Then Messi stays winning.
Stays winning?
Yeah.
Okay. And you obviously chose Spain, right? Is that because you like the style of football versus England?
Yeah, I like how Spain plays, and I'm attracted to, that kind of football. How they move the ball, how they break lines. They technically gifted, like they. That's it.
But now you see what's happening, right? Now they're bringing in the German coaches into the Spanish league. Don't you think that's going to also change the way they play football? Because the Germans are very tactical and very direct.
I think maybe it might change how. I don't think no, actually. I think it's happening you can see it happening now at Barca. Barca no longer like the Barca that we all grew up knowing. Every year that shouting in the bond route. Now there's just a lot of things happening in Barca. But I don't think that's going to change with the national team. With the national team, I don't see it happening.
All right, so now let's just kind of like get into you as a child, right? You said you always knew that, football was the thing that you would, get into. And looking back there when you were a child, what would you say that 6-year-old would be saying about Lebohang right now?
Proud of you, boys. We've come a long way. Let's keep on going. The road is not, even now, it's not smooth, but just continue going.
And now you also spoke about discipline, right? And I like the fact that you actually practice that discipline and that ritual, that you have, and the closeness that you have with God. In terms of, social media and then the terrible times we're living in, where people are feel they feel like they own you. There's somewhat, on social media. How do you deal with that pressure?
I just don't listen to the noise. I just don't. I mean, there was a time where I was at Sundowns where, things weren't really going my way. I think I was trying too hard. And people started talking. Now everyone had different opinions. You had this one saying this, you had the other one telling you this, But as I said, I think, just coming back home to a warm home, seeing my parents, seeing my siblings, and just the voice of my parents saying, we're proud of you, Mtana. My mom saying, I'm proud of you, Mtana. Keep on going. That's, for me, that's it. Yeah, like, I don't need to listen to what someone else who doesn't know nothing about my life, but feels like he has an opinion or something to say about my life. We all go through, different things. We go through ups and downs, and that was probably the toughest period of my career, but just the support that I had from my family was amazing.
Lovely, Billy.
Yeah.
Hey, man, listen, all good things have to come to an end. I've really enjoyed this conversation, but before we wrap it up, are there any, words of encouragement that you'd like to send out to, young kids who also want to become professional footballers one day?
I think never give up. Never give up. Like, we all go through different phases. There are times where things are, very difficult, and times where things are going to be okay. Just never give up. Never, ever give up. Regardless of whether you give up or not, but you still got this dream that you have staring at you in your face, so just never give up and trust your dopeness, man. We're all unique, embrace that, embrace all your flaws and embrace all your qualities, and just know that there's only one Lebohang Maboe, and I'm special in my own way. And never envy being someone else. Never envy someone else. Just stay true to who you are.
I bet you. I'm really enjoyed that. Thanks for the chat. Wishing you all the best in the future.
Thank you so much, Magic. Chat.